This episode is brought to you by Atlas VPN. More about that at the first break. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name is Connor, and today I am bringing you an episode from a scuffed location because basically the episode that I planned on releasing this week did get copyright struck by Games Workshop. I am a Marine Corps veteran, a law enforcement veteran, a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd. We will be breaking down the Bound for Greatness episode on Warhammer TV. Please come along for the ride. Let's go ahead and go. The quote is, "An open mind is like a fortress with its gates unbarred and unguarded." Imperial proverb. Let's check it out.
Blessed are the words of the Emperor, for it is he who lights our way. In his beneficence, he has bestowed upon us his great librarium, so that lowly servants such as I might share his word. Know then that in the time before, when the stars were but young,
and the galaxy steeped in darkness,
it was the Emperor who first brought light!
Beautiful. So we open on a wide establishing shot of ecclesiarchal temples. And this is to say that in the Imperium of Man during the Great Crusade, it was an atheistic crusade. The actual Emperor of Mankind, the historical Emperor of Mankind, was trying to purge the universe of religiosity, not add to it. So, as a result, he basically created genetically engineered super warriors called the Space Marines in order to go ahead and pursue that objective. Well, what ended up happening was there was a civil war brought on by the forces of chaos, which are basically demonic forces in this world. They corrupted his top general, creating the civil war, ending in his mortal wounding and internment upon the golden throne of Terra. Now he's a psychic beacon for the remainder of the universe, but what ended up happening was during this time was there were miracles. Miracles of the dark gods and miracles of the emperor himself, where loyalists were given psychic visions of the emperor and clear paths forward and divine intervention in moments that were not explainable in any other way besides a divinity. The emperor himself would say, "Oh, well, I'm a psychically, powerful being, and as a result I intervened on your behalf to give you power in this battle, but I myself am not a god." But the people who followed these visions were like, "Well, you're pretty much a god, so we're going to go ahead and promote you as a god." So, since the Emperor's entombment, his internment on Holy Terra, on the Golden Throne, the remainders of the forces saw the opportunity to take the cult of the Emperor and turn it into a new religion. And this religion has continued the Imperium of Man going forward, despite being completely contradictory to the original vision of the Empire of Man. And so that's pretty much what's going on. But before we continue on with the series, I want to go ahead and shout out our sponsor, Atlas VPN. You're like, "Hey, Connor, I didn't even know you had a sponsor, except for when you first did it in the intro, and now you're telling me about it. Are you even big enough to have one?" Yes, I am. They reached out to me, and I think it's a perfect fit. The reason why it's a perfect fit is because there are those of you who are in the comments who say, "Hey, Connor, I can't watch this. I'm in Guatemala, or I'm in Iran, or I'm in Finland, and I don't have the geolocation services in order to watch the Warhammer TV series, which is why I'm watching your breakdowns instead. Am enjoying the lore, but also, would love to watch it on my own." There's a simple solution to this. Use the discount code that's on your screen. Use the discount code that's in the link description. You can go to Atlas VPN's website. You can get an 82% discount for a 3-year plan. You can do a 1-year plan, or you can do month to month, depending on what matches your budget. But no matter what, you can go ahead and go check them out. And while you're checking them out, there's other benefits besides being able to change your geolocation in order to watch subscription services that aren't available in your country. You can also protect your personal IP information. Let's say that you're a streamer or YouTuber like me and you go on debates like on StreamYard or Discord. You can protect your IP address. That way you're harder to dox. And also, you can protect your information from government or corporate tracking. Finally, you can fight against price discrimination. Price discrimination is where they use geolocation services in order to up and down prices on things like airlines or on subscription services. And as a result, you can change to the market that is the best price, enroll in the service, and then save that money, making this subscription basically pay for itself. I already shelled out the cash in order to do the 3 year plan out of my pocket because I believe in the product that much. And if it fits your budget and fits your needs, you should consider doing so as well. With all of that being said, let's move on.
Counting is your duty.
$9,993. 9,994. My counting is my duty.
There shall be no thinking. To reason is to consider lies. There shall be no reading.
9,996. 9,996. 996.
There shall be no talking. Knowledge corrupts. It is a dangerous thing. Do you understand this, Adept Neath?
I do, Prefect. 9,997, 9,998. The Emperor's light is the only light. 9,999.
So, while this perhaps isn't the most bloody episode that we're going to have, although it does get bloody at some point, the point of this being that the Imperium of Man is not what it used to be. During the Great Crusade, it was a time of illumination and study and rationality and enlightenment kind of style thinking, while still being under the very heavy authoritarian iron fist of the Imperium of Man. And so what's actually interesting is watching this corruption, because even if you were to talk to the original priests, the original people who followed in the cult of the emperor, they weren't saying don't think. If anything, because they were persecuted at the time, they were saying you have to think for yourselves. You have to logic this out and reason this out yourself based off of what you're seeing. Look at these miracles. Look at these interventions on behalf of the Imperium of Man by the Emperor himself. Are these things that a mortal man can achieve, or are these things that a god would do? And, would a god, who was subject to the contestations of other gods, would he acknowledge himself as a god? So they basically use a lot of argumentation from logical enlightenment philosophy in order to arrive at a religious result, but they themselves don't despise thinking. Whereas the Imperium of Man itself is something that does say repeat ad nauseum the traditions of our forebears, because to err from the traditions is to invite danger and death and destruction. And you can say, hey, that's kind of jacked up. But on the other hand, there's a lot of evidence for that, because those who do think for themselves, those who do kind of move into the rationality of the Xenos or chaos or anything like that, they do become corrupted and they do become dangerous to the Imperium of Man. So that it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy of you can't think too much and you can't think too little, and thinking too little in this universe might be a little bit better than thinking too much. So that's at least the rationale of the Imperium of Man. But then what that does is it makes this very difficult, inhuman environment in which the spirit of mankind is crushed under the weight of industry, corporation, empire, and ecclesiarchal dogma. And as a result, it almost fosters the rebellion that in turn threatens the Imperium of Man. So it's kind of like a Goldie Bear or Goldilocks situation where the porridge is too hot. They can't handle it. So as a result, they keep scalding themselves and then wondering why. But this particular adept is being pressured in that way, and he's discovering what seems like a minute detail, but is actually something that is going to rock his world.
10,000. 10,001. 10,002.
There shall be no talking.
Have you ever noticed that sometimes there are the wrong number of books? No!
I know that feeling.
To contemplate is to invite treachery. Counting is your duty.
$9,996. My counting is my duty. 9,997. $9,998. The Emperor's light is my only light. 9,999.
There shall be no reading.
How it moves at you. How you long to run your eyes across
Those pages. Feel its knowledge.
into your eyes. The book. Take the book.
What do you do? What do you do? Do you report to your boss that says the contemplate is not? You're a serf. You're barely anything. You are liable to be executed for reporting it as much as you are to be lauded for reporting it. So the chances of you paying a higher price that's necessary for the good of mankind, basically, let's just face it, the Imperium of Man does not tolerate any kind of aberration, even if well intentioned. So as a result, if he did report this to his superior, he can feel the temptation, he can feel the warp, he can see all these demons, and for you and me, we're like screaming, like, "Good God, run, man! Like, run, go report him." But go report what you've seen, go report what you've done, go report that there was an adept that was trying to tempt you into reading, go report that you felt the touch of the warp simply by touching the book 9,999. But that's the danger. Is what you're supposed to die? Supposed to die for the Imperium of Man, this giant crushing monster that has given you this slave labor in order to eat gray gruel on a daily basis and sleep in a stone or steel bed. Really? These are the people you're supposed to die for? And the answer is yes. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to say, "Yep, Hey, touched a book. It's book 9,999. Put a las round straight through my forehead, and I just saved you from a chaos incursion. You're welcome. That's obviously not what happens, though.
10,001. 10,002.
To reason is to consider lies.
The importance of these books cannot be understated.
Why are we kept waiting?
They should be here.
This is testing my patience.
I can't preach without the books.
These books had better be worth it.
Welcome, welcome. Once again, we are most honored to receive such auspicious guests.
Quite so, Prefect. You are blessed indeed to serve the Emperor through our patronage.
That I am.
Are the new volumes ready?
They are.
Good. All is as it should be. Through us, the Emperor's grace will inspire thousands. Have the next batch ready early.
Of course.
Blessing of the Emperor upon you.
Our fate is in his hands.
My counting is my duty.
There shall be no thinking. There shall be no talking.
So, just going over that, the librarius is connected to the ecclesiarchy. They need their books in order to go ahead and proselytize to the masses. You're wondering to yourself, good God, Connor, did they really make an episode about counting books? They sure. But at the same time, the excitement is not in what's physically happening on screen. It's in the psychological thriller of the contemplation of what do you do? Do you stay loyal? Do you ignore your leaders? Do you obey the Imperium? Do you jump both feet into the dark waters of knowledge? What do you do? What do you do? And there's plenty of temptation for... There's no temptation for us. We know what happens to those who stray from the Emperor's light. But to those who are under the oppressive boot of a day-to-day, where literally he would be expected to do this into his 80s, doing the same task over and over and over again until he dies, there might be a greater temptation to pull on the thread of this great mystery that has put him at odds with his order. So, let's continue.
What? What is it?
A book. An extra book. You were right. I found one there on the shelf.
You did? Did you read it?
No.
Tell me, where did you find it?
Section 1271A, where I count. Who are you?
My name is Bowl.
bowl!
There shall be no talking! It seems I must remind you of the rules, Adept Neath.
I'm sorry, Prefect. It's just the extra book.
Extra books? Have you failed in your counting duties?
I was trying to find Adept Bowl. He knows all about it.
There is no Adept Bowl.
But, Prefect, I spoke with him.
You are mistaken. There has never been an adept here with that name.
Then perhaps I misheard his name. He had a marking, a scar on the side of his neck.
To question is to undermine authority. There shall be no more talking.
Yes, Prefect.
Now go! And do not allow your thoughts to betray you.
Why? Why, Connor? I'm new to the Warhammer 40k universe. What did I even see? So, birds. Birds in particular are the chosen symbol of Tzeentch, the god of change. And as an interesting note, Tzeentch has said that there's a great game between the Chaos Gods. And it is to see which of them can become more powerful through their machinations and manipulations of the material world. And Tzeentch in particular is said to have won the great game, but then because he didn't want to be bored for all of eternity, floating in a creatureless, experienceless void, because he won the great game, he decided to go back through time travel and manipulation in order to continue the great game in its chronological fashion for as long as possible. So it is actually not in the interest of the Chaos Gods to win instantaneously by ripping apart the world and making everything become the immaterium. It's not in their interest to destroy all of humanity. It's not in their interest to destroy every alien race, because they feed off of the conflict, rot, decay, pleasure, and excess of the material world. And Tzeentch is one of the most powerful by far, because how do you stop change? Can't. Change is one of the most fundamental forces of our material universe, and as a result, what do? And you can't win against that level of force. So, the priest revealing the fact that there is no adept bowl, that he has bird claws, and that he probably very well knows that this book is a part of the great game that he's playing. That just indicates that there's already chaos corruption, and this adept is a part of the game. He's a part of the pawn. He's a part of what they're doing on this planet. So, with your new understanding of Tzeentch, the god of change, let's continue on.
There shall be no reading.
So actually, let's stop and read it. I mean, we're here anyways, right? From this high rock, from this high peak, let the light of the worship shrine, so that the emperor himself might see it from his golden throne. Soften the people, or the people forget their duty. They are no longer They are no longer human, and become something less than beast. They have no place in the bosom of humanity, nor in the heart of the emperor. Let them die and be forgotten. Sodden the people? I don't know. They're talking about some people that they just want to kill. Love the emperor, for he is salvation to mankind. Obey his words, for he will lead you into the light of the future. Heed his wisdom, for the will to protect you from evil. Whisper his prayers with devotion, for they will save your soul. Honor the servants, and they speak in their voice. Tremble before his majesties, for we all walk in the immortal shadow. From then, that in the time before, when the stars were but young, and the galaxy steeped in darkness, it was the emperor who first brought light. The emperor of mankind is the light and the day, and all his actions are for the benefit of mankind, which is his people. The emperor is God, and God is the emperor, so it is and above all things, the emperor will protect. A heretic may see the truth and seek redemption. It may be forgiven his past and will be absolved in death. A traitor can never be forgiven. Interesting. Kind of a contradiction there. He may be forgiven his past and will be absolved in death. So the only way to forgive a traitor is through death. A traitor cannot be forgiven, I guess, by implication in this life. A traitor will never find peace in this world or the next. There is nothing as wretched as hated in all the world. Oh, hold on. So a heretic may see the truth and seek redemption. He may be forgiven his past and will be absolved in death. So a heretic is somebody who speaks against the emperor. A traitor, however, somebody who betrays the emperor of mankind or the imperium of man, is somebody who can't be forgiven. A traitor will never find peace in this world or the next. There is nothing as wretched or hated as the word traitor. Some place their trust in warships and weapons of destruction. But we remember the divine emperor. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and virtuous. There is only the emperor, and he is our shield and protector. So if I was to summarize this, the emperor's awesome. He's divine. Don't doubt that. If you're a heretic and you speak against this truth, you can be forgiven, and you can be forgiven in death. But a traitor, someone who betrays the imperium of man or betrays the emperor himself, they cannot be forgiven, and they will be tortured in this life and the next. Interesting. The changer of ways being Zinch.
Greetings, most auspicious.
Yes. Are they ready?
Of course, just as you required.
Good. Come along, hurry. There's work to be done. We shall return tomorrow, Prefect. Be ready.
Of course.
Gather round. Lend me your ears and listen well. For I bear words of loving enlightenment.
And of the brilliance that shines upon the darkest corners of our galaxy.
And in its magnificence brings forth the gift of change!
Knowledge corrupts. It is the dangerous thing.
So, yeah, that's pretty much the end of it. It does look like this is perhaps maybe not the bloodiest or most exciting Hammer and Bolter episode that I've seen, but what it is a breakdown of how chaos corruption can take over a planet. And that in and of itself can be kind of interesting. And on top of that, the more interesting part is how the Imperium of Man can be co-opted against itself. So these ecclesiarchal members, it's actually interesting when they realize that they've been spouting chaos propaganda and they are now the heads of a cult. Will it be too late? Will they receive visions from Zinch himself and gifts as this prefect has received with the physical manifestations, the mutations in himself? Will they remain loyal to the Emperor knowing that it will be their death, or will they say, well, changer of ways, Zinch, I've been reading his book, and he had a point. kind of like somebody reading Mein Kampf and being like, oh, okay, I get it. Basically what's going on is these people are spreading the corrupt word of chaos. They are corrupting the planet. They will destroy the planet, and they will do so knowing and unknowingly. And by the time they realize what they've done, it'll already be too late. And that's kind of the insidious nature of chaos. So, all that being said, decent episode, a little bit more like lore and depth and contemplation than it is violence and action. I'm more of a fan of the violence and action myself, but hey, c'est la vie, we can't win them all. And so what I would say is like, share, subscribe, dislike, all that YouTube nonsense. Please, ring the bell so you can see when we create more content. Obviously, we're catching up on Hammer and Bolter pretty soon, and we will be moving into Interrogator as the series develops. Then, if you do want to check out other stuff, I do have media breakdowns on Full Metal Jacket, End of Watch, and Fury. I'm considering doing video essays for those. If you do want to support the channel financially, you can become a YouTube member. You can support us on Twitch when we go live between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. on Fridays. And then also, you can go to patreon.com/counterpoints in order to support the channel. I would like to shout out Atlas VPN as well for basically helping us out with a channel sponsorship. It is sincerely appreciated. If you can benefit from their services in the way that I've described, by protecting your identity, by gaining access to different geolocation services, by being able to save money through price discrimination, elimination, and if you would like to secure yourself away from your government or corporate spying, then please go ahead and click on that link and see if their product meets your needs. I appreciate you. Thank you for checking us out, and I'll catch you in the next one.